lit galleries, official documents tell a story of one of the murkier chapters of the Army's history: the formation of the West Indian Regiments at the turn of the 18th century.
The records available tell us that the Army purchased about 13,400 slaves for these regiments at the cost of around £1 million, maybe just shy of £1 million. And looking at the various sort of years, it averages around £70 for the cost of one single slave.
In the late 1790s and early 1800s, Britain controlled a large part of the Caribbean. The islands of Jamaica, Barbados, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Trinidad and Tobago were known as the British West Indies, and this is where the Army wanted to station their West Indian regiments.
The region was of interest to the British because of sugar plantations, and as a result British troops were sent there as garrisons to protect that region. What the British soldiers didn't realise is that there were mosquitoes carrying around yellow fever and a variety of tropical diseases. And what happened very quickly is that as British soldiers were being stationed in these islands, they would fall with tropical diseases. So from Britain, there were policies being sent forward to say, right, here are some supplies, here are some funds, go and purchase new Africans. So purchase Africans from Africa as slaves and then recruit them into the West India Regiments.
Here in this display case is an actual receipt for the purchase of 272 slaves by the British governor of Jamaica. By the end of the 18th century, the British Army was the single biggest purchaser of slaves. But back in London, concern was growing, and in 1802, the governor received a letter asking for the practice to stop.
The papers belonging to the governor of Jamaica at that time, in one of the letters, he cites His Majesty the King at the time to say that we should try to wind down the numbers. And it's a gentle nod letter sent back here, but actually it does the opposite. There's almost an emergency purchase and it creates a spike in the numbers. So when you start to get maybe 100 purchase for that regiment, you start to get 300 to 400, and those numbers really start to ramp up until 1807 for the Mutiny Act or abolition.
With the abolition of slavery in 1807, the soldiers became free men, and their role changed from having to protect colonial assets to serving overseas.
They went on to serve in West Africa campaigns and also won medals with clasps of Sierra Leone and Gambia. But if we come a bit more into modern history, we know that they served in France in the First World War. They served in Palestine. They served in the Western Front. They served with honour, with distinction and loyalty at that time to the king that they were serving for. And when we start to look at that service, we start to think about why is some of that forgotten. The First World War narrative was largely dominated by the British Tommy. For me, I think that comes down to how we remember history. As a researcher, I've always said that remembrance and history starts with a name, and with a name we can go on to find any level of service. The complication with many of these men is their anonymity. So when we've got paintings, when we've got photographs, rarely are they named.
This painting from 1804 is on display in the museum. It's simply titled "A Private of the 8th West India Regiment." The soldier stands tall in his bright red uniform, but we don't know anything about this man because, at the time, nobody thought it worth even asking his name. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.